What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Not Influence Show, a Crooked Hat production. I'm Donnie, and we're recording here at Alpine Ford on Highway 50 in Pueblo, Colorado. If you're in the market for a new Ford or a pre-owned vehicle, come see one of our sales associates, and they'll get you taken care of. Tonight, I got my special guest, my homeboy Tommy Sisneros. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, brother?
Thanks for coming back on, Tommy. I appreciate you.
Anytime, man, anytime.
So Tommy's on tonight again so soon to talk a little bit about the Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series, a new front side series happening at Pueblo Motorsports Park. The first one is June 20th, Friday, June 20th. And just in an effort to make sure that everybody who might be interested in racing understands the classes and the payouts and the buy-ins and such, Tommy and I are going to talk a little bit about that and answer some frequently asked questions that we've been getting. So,
Think we're ready to rock and roll here.
I think so.
What's cool is I feel like there's a lot to unpack with this race. So I think it's good that you're allocating a whole episode to, peeling the onion layers back a little bit to give everybody a taste of what it's going to be like. So,
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series, what exactly is it, and who's the audience for this type of race?
So the idea behind the Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series is to provide a prepped race on the front side of the track on a 400 Pro Tree for heads-up racers and index racers, imports, all-wheel drive, you name it, big tire, small tire, a place to race, and just a series of their own where they can go fast and let it all hang out.
Nice. How many races are there?
There's 4 of them. So the first one being June 20th is a Friday, and then we got Saturday, July 19th, and Friday night, August 22nd, and then the last one is Saturday, October the 11th.
Nice. And how many classes are there?
There's like 12 classes available. But in order for a class to be able to make it on race day, we need 8 cars in that class pre-registered the day before race day. If there's not 8 cars pre-registered, then either, I'm going to reach out to all the racers that are pre-registered, and they can either pick a different class and pay the difference or be refunded the difference, or that class isn't going to make it, essentially.
Got it. And what's the current car counts looking like for people out there that have already maybe pre-registered? And
it's it's a little slim right now. That's the whole idea behind you and I coming on and talking about it a little bit. There are some cars signed up. There's a handful of them in the 530 index class. There's a couple in the outlaw import class. We got Matt Frost. He's the first one in unlimited. We got Joey Anton in small tire, and I think there's a couple others in small tire right now too. There's an all-wheel drive daily already in, and I think there's a 950 car already in an index class. There's a 580, but it's going to take a lot more to get there for those classes to make it.
we're 2 weeks out,
right?
So if everybody's waiting, maybe they were involved in Mega Week. And, now that's over. I mean, this is really the race to be at in Colorado this weekend, if you ask me.
You would think so.
And I think it should be really appetizing, just like you said, for all sorts of racers, whether they're all-wheel drive, bracket, import. I mean, you name it, you have a place for them in this race.
Definitely.
And with Bandimere closing, I think this is a great platform and a great opportunity for everybody to come down, like you said, let it hang a little bit and see what the deal is.
Well, I hope it fills a void because with Bandimere being closed, last season and then now obviously this season, I had a lot of people that are heads-up racers, some pretty fast streetcar type cars that, were hitting me up saying, oh, man, it kind of sucks that all your focus is on the backside but still sitting no prep. We don't want to do no prep. Sure wish you had some kind of series on the front side. There's even some guys, big tire guys, that were saying, no prep isn't real racing and this and that. And so, over the winter, we put together what we think is a series that offers the opportunity for just about anybody, heads-up racer, door car, street car in Colorado to find a place to be able to race amongst their peers, right? There's a big tire class, we're calling it unlimited, small tire class. Both of those are 8th mile heads up. We got a outlaw import class, so we, because in the past it's been said that I wasn't really including import racers in what we were doing because there's not an import class in Steel City no prep. So there's an outlaw import class, there's an 1150 index class. PFI Speed runs the same class in their events, so that is open obviously to front-wheel drive imports, whatever. There's an all-wheel drive daily class because we've been told, you don't have anything for only all-wheel drive cars. So then there's an all-wheel drive unlimited class that's catered more towards fast all-wheel drive cars. And then there's index classes, the 530, 580, 650, and 750 in the 8th mile. Those are all NHRA Division 5 index classes that if you race in those classes, then you would possibly win your way into the opportunity to go to the Division 5 finals. And then from there, who knows, So they're running those 4 8th mile index classes, they're running in the Division 5 finals. They ran the 580, 650, and 750 last year in the finals, along with the, bracket racing ET point series, Super Pro, Sportsman, high school. They ran those classes with that, and they had won a big Wally. It was cool to see, some index classes happening. Since we were doing the 8th mile index classes, we felt, we should open it up to some quarter mile indexes too. Of course, 1150, the primary thought behind the 1150 class was to give some import guys that were used to racing that 1150 class at PSCA with PFI, give them a place to have 4 more races in addition to PFI's events, both at Pueblo and Kearney, which they have 4 of them themselves, but to give them another opportunity to take in 4 more really good prepped front side races in an index that they already compete in. So then we added 1050 and then 950 in the quarter mile as well. And that all-wheel drive unlimited class is a quarter mile, and all-wheel drive daily is a quarter mile as well.
Now, is that the same deal where they can qualify to go to the Division 5 for the quarter mile? Is that specifically?
Currently, that's only the 4 8th mile index, 530, 580, 650, 750. Those are the only 4 that NHRA is doing at the moment.
And do they have to commit to all 4 races in order to qualify for something like that?
They need to race in at least 2 of them.
2 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does the buy-in work for these classes? Is it just, hey, it's this, or what does that look like?
So every car that comes to race is going to have to pay a $60 tech card fee. The track keeps that to cover expenses of prep and staff and insurance, lights if they need to be turned on if you run late enough, which on the Friday night ones, that's going to be a given, right? So the track keeps that $60 tech card fee. And then there's a few different tiers where these classes are grouped together, and then they have a buy-in on top of that $60 tech card fee. And then from that buy-in is how the payout ends up being created and established, right? So let's just call it, and I'll post this up in the video, but let's call Group A small tire unlimited, outlaw import, and all-wheel drive unlimited. That's a $200 class entry fee. So that racer's all in at $260 as a buy-in.
60 for the tech card and 200 for the pot, basically.
Right.
Okay.
And then let's call Group B 538th mile and 950 quarter mile. So they're in for the 60, and then they got a $150 class entry fee. So $210, they're all in. And then the 580, 650, 750 8th mile indexes And the 1050, 1150, and all-wheel drive daily quarter-mile classes, they're $60 tech card and a $75 class entry fee. So, like I say, the track keeps the $60 portion of that. That's how the track earns its income. And then the $200, the $150, and the $75, depending on what group you're in, is what creates the overall payout for that class. And it takes 8 cars minimum for the class to even run.
Okay. And I don't think a lot of people consider that all the time when it comes to events of what it takes, to make those things go round.
Yeah.
It's not your race. It's not the track's race. It's really the racer's race.
100%.
We're the ones who decide whether these things happen or not. And I think sometimes people forget that, that work's not free. Things like insurance, things like safety, fire, employees, that stuff's not free. And I think sometimes people have a hard time understanding that when it comes to, especially elements like weather.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bring that up because I know you get probably a lot of flack when you have to make a call and cancel an event due to weather or something. It's like, well, it's sunny now.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the logistics behind just getting, there's certain times where you have to make that call. Mm-hmm. And, I want it to be known that I know it's not a decision you take lightly.
No, it sucks to cancel a race. But the thing that people don't think about is even though you may be somewhere in Pueblo or Colorado Springs or Denver or outside of those areas, that it's nice at your house, it may not be at my house.
Right.
Or Eddie's house or Larry Richardson's house down in Alamosa, right? So you got to take all that into consideration, and then you got to start to think, okay, well, what is the car count going to look like? What is the spectator participation for the night going to look like? Because once you open the gate and let people in, the cost of labor is the same whether 10 cars come or 100 cars come. If it's a Friday night drags that's track hot from 6 to 12, labor is the same. The material, the prep is pretty much the same. The insurance premium for that night is the same. The electric bill for the lights is the same. So all those things are the same, whether the track makes $350 off of 10 $35 tech cards or $3,500 off of 100 $35 tech cards.
Right.
So, and then, spectators on Friday nights are only $10. So, it's a fine line of the business part of the track being profitable. And you tell me a business that loses too much too many times that continues to keep their doors open, and I'll try to do what they're doing.
Right. And when it comes to pricing, since you've been around, I know Friday nights have been $10 to spectate, $35 a tech card. I haven't seen that gone up, and you've been doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's not the case in a lot of other businesses.
So we actually agreed, John Brandow, the road course guy, and had a conversation about Friday night specifically, and agreed that with it being the 50th year of the track and Friday nights trying to be something that's open for everyone and to try to help eliminate the risk factor of not having enough spectators or enough cars to cover the cost, we agreed to this year we would leave it 35 and 10. I would anticipate to see at least the tech cards go up a little bit next year for Friday nights. I would guess at least to 40. The other tracks in the division that have similar things, Saturday night drags or open test and tune days, they're at 40.
Yeah.
And $10 spectators are pretty much unheard of too for the most part. So we'd like to keep that. I'd like to keep the spectator fees as low as possible. I like to keep the tech cards as low as possible too, but if car counts don't allow that to happen for the track, then all of us who are still racing and supporting the track are going to have to pick up some of what cost. There's no other way around it. I mean, supply and demand, right?
Right. And that's I don't want to go, way left field on this because I know the topic is the streetcar series, but I just thought it was important because I'm on all the pages, and when you have to make a call and people screenshot and it's sunny at my house, what's going on? They don't think about the bigger picture. And you would think it would be more common sense to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they would see that bigger picture, but now if they watch this, they should be able to see the bigger picture.
One little side note, still before we get back on track, right? When I first started with Marion, Allen, and Lanier, I used to get phone calls. Is it raining at the track? Is it raining in Pueblo? And now, and what sucked is to get a bunch of people at the track and then it rained and then you got to cancel and you got a line of people you got to refund and whatever. That's no fun either.
No.
And I wouldn't want to get all the way there and then be told after I'm there for an hour that it's canceled or whatever. You were there the night that Bill Dickey Road washed out.
That was a mess.
Yeah.
And there was a genuine concern for a while on how you're going to get these people out.
Mm-hmm. And I made the decision that we were going to be all right and didn't cancel it, even though the forecast showed a little bit, that there was an iffy chance there. And look what happened that night.
It turned out to be a 1 in 100-year storm that washed out the entire road and
jacked up the pavement on Bill Dickey Road. The city had to fix it and everything. So, canceling races suck. Nobody likes to do it, but sometimes it's in the best interest of not only the racer, but the track, which ultimately makes it in the best interest of the racer because, a business can only stand to lose money so many times before it's too upside down to make sense.
Right, right. So you broke down, how many cars, that 8-car count is what's kind of the minimum and what drives the prices in terms of a tech card plus the payout cost.
Right.
What if people flock to this and you get 40 people that sign up for a class? How does that work?
So there is 2 qualifying passes on the Friday night races. Qualifying gates open at 3, qualifying starts at 5. If there was 40, each class, if we ever hit that maximum, is capped at 32 cars. So let's say 40 cars showed up for the 530 class. The 32 cars that are closest to the 530 index are who's going to race for the money. The other 8 cars are more than welcome to come up in between classes. We'll throw it in like we do at Steel City, where they can grudge. They're out, but they can grudge. They did not qualify because, but currently the way it's trending, I think we're far away from having to worry about having 32 cars in a class, which kind of sucks because that's where the maximum payout is at. But, we need 8 cars minimum for a class to run, 32 cars maximum to get full payout.
Got it. What how are the pairings when it comes to like eliminations? How does that kind of work?
It'll be chip draw.
Chip draw for every class?
Yeah. And while we're on the topic, I guess I can help break down the split too, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, I'll put up this buy-in payout sheet, but let's just use Group A, small tire unlimited, outlaw import, and all-wheel drive unlimited as an example. So if there was a full 32 cars, that creates a $6,500 full purse, right? After qualifying, we're going to split those 32 cars in half, where 16 of them would be the fast 16, 16 of them would be the slow 16. They're going to race each other off. The fast are going to race the fast 16. The slow are going to race the slow 16. The winner of the fast 16 would get $4,500 out of that $6,500. The runner-up would get $1,000 in the fast group. In the slow group, only the winner gets $1,000. There's no payout for the runner-up in the slow group. In that same group A, if there's 17 to 31 cars, the total purse is $5,000. And when the class splits, The fast class would get 4,200 as their total, with the winner getting 3,400, runner-up getting 800, and the slow class winner would get 800. And if you look at it, it pretty much goes back and forth to where whatever car count is at, the slow winner only gets paid out what the fast runner-up would get. That's in an effort to kind of make it to where you don't really want to sandbag. If you can run 5:30s, why sandbag and run slower to be in the slow group when the most you're going to win is what the runner-up is going to win in the fast group? If you can run 5:30s, why not just run 5:30s and go for the runner-up or the winner payout, right? And then if there's 16 cars or less, there is no split, and the winner in that Group A would be 1,300 and the runner-up would be 300. So that's if there's 8 to 16 cars, that's what they'll race for.
So you really covered all bases in terms of car count and motivation to not sandbag and, to make the purse a pretty solid one.
I think so.
I agree.
I mean, when you look at these payouts for heads-up racers, and I'm not trying to throw any digs at anybody that's promoted or put on any other races, but when you look at this, I know that there was some heads-up races series that people were having to commit more, like 2 days, 1 day of qualifying, 1 day of racing, and pay in about the same or close to it, and the payout be way less in any of the categories, like any of the car count levels. You know what I mean? So I think that the entry fees are affordable compared to others. The payouts are built off of participation, so it should encourage you to try to recruit your friends to come race in it too, right? And the payouts are good, in my opinion.
There's really no excuse for somebody not to sign up for one of these classes.
I would think so.
It's fair from a pricing aspect.
Yeah. And I'd like to throw out there that it took a lot to get these 4 dates. It's not like I said, hey, I want to throw these on a Friday night.
Right.
But there was no, otherwise we'd only have 2 of them, the 2 Saturday dates. So, but in an effort to give this group of racers, front side, prepped, heads up, and index racers a place to race, the track and I agreed on taking 2 Friday nights and not having them as Friday night drags and running these on those Friday nights. Was I a little reluctant to do that at first? Yeah. But then I started thinking, okay, who is this series aimed at? And it was guys that were racing in a heads-up series at Bandamere who had to come and qualify on Friday nights, and they knew the schedule ahead of time. So I figured, okay, we put this series together, we put it out in January. That gives people plenty of time to schedule around those 2 Fridays we got, just like they did for that series, if they want it bad enough. Like you said earlier, it's the racer's race, because guess what? I'm still going to eat. I'm still going to do what I got to do, whether you show up to these or not. But if this doesn't grow and happen and be profitable for the track and fun for the spectators so that they want to come, then it probably won't happen next year.
Right.
And so then those guys who, were a little critical about how good the backside races were growing and doing and saying, oh, you're not providing anywhere for us to race, you won't be able to point the finger at anybody but yourself when you don't participate.
Right.
Or you can wait a couple years and hopefully another track will be open by then and you can go race there. Being honest, because this isn't going to happen next year if it isn't good for everyone involved, including the track.
Right, right.
Those dates will be either given up. The Fridays will go back to regular Friday night drags. The 2 Saturdays will either go to the road course or still sitting no prep.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
think
mean?
it's more than fair. I don't think there's any excuse for anybody not to jump into this. I really don't. I really don't. How are the buy runs going to be determined and handled?
So buy runs, since it's chip draw, you'll just pull a buy and go from there. And since it is chip draw and luck of the draw, a lot of people look at it differently. But for this series, currently we have it set up that, if you draw a buy, that's luck of the draw.
Right.
So if you draw another buy later, guess what? I guess you got lucky again. There's no way that we're rigging the bucket for you to be able to get the buy. So instead of having to throw everybody back in there and redraw because this dude got a buy 2 rounds ago, it is what it is. A buy is, it's luck of the draw. So that's the way
it really is luck of the draw.
Yeah.
I've been to every Still City since it started and participated in every Still City, and I'm yet to get a buy. I've never drawn a buy. I think Ed had his first one in this last race. So it really is. And then when Chris Phillips raced that SUV once, he had a buy all the way to the finals.
Yeah,
it's just a luck of the draw. What are you going to do? But if you do have a dispute and want to protest another racer, what does that process look like? Where maybe they pass tech and you still
you
feel
think
like
they're
you're
outside of the rules or something?
Yeah, there's something fishy going on
I think
out there.
the way I'm just going to refer to the rules actually. The way we have it written in the rules is, cars are inspected for the class rules. That's going to be done by race officials or volunteers. If you feel another racer got something past inspection and want to protest them, you can do so by bringing a $100 protest fee to me with details on what rules you suspect that racer of breaking. And we will have 2 neutral party racers out of a different class or staff members, 2 neutral parties, racers or crew, present when that car is checked. If they are found out to be out of the rules, they'll be disqualified and you'll receive your $100 back. If nothing on their car is found to be outside of the rules, that racer that you protested gets to keep your $100. So make sure that if you're going to protest and say that somebody's cheating, make sure you're sure of that.
You better come correct.
Right.
Or you're going to lose that 100.
Right. And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
We haven't really been doing that. A lot of other races do have a protest fee and similar structure as that. I think it's fair because sometimes protests hold up the race, cause delay, cause chaos, cause negativity, and then you find out they're unwarranted, and the guy that did the protest had nothing to lose in doing the protest. He just assumes dude is cheating and, he's cheating, and then, you got that snowball effect of having to check it and go through all that. So we feel if you've got to put up a $100 protest fee for us to even look into it, that you're going to be a little more sure that that person's out of the rules before you bring it up.
Makes sense. What about the diapers? What are the rules in the diapers and the pan rule?
So I'm going to refer to the rules on that one too because I just don't want to get it wrong. But there is a diaper or oil retention type pan that – so the way it reads is you got to have an engine diaper or an engine pan tray. Pan trays must have a 2-inch lip and liquid absorbent pad in them. And we're pretty much going to open it to everybody, but currently the rules read index class and all-wheel drive cars can elect to pay a refundable $100 track cleanup deposit in lieu of running an engine diaper or pan tray. The deposit is made during tech inspection and may be cash. If you do not oil down or leak any coolant on the track during the race, you can collect a refund for the deposit after you fall out of competition or at the end of the race. And we're not going to be like real anal on this situation. The whole thing behind that is, having something to stop oil from getting under your tires or on the track is going to keep you safe as well, right? So, and then it's going to limit the amount of cleanup time that it's going to take to clean up your mess if you do leak something on the track. And there's just a lot of people who are doing everything they can, putting a diaper on their car before this series, before this rule, or building a pan and having it underneath the car, that they're going through those steps to keep themselves safe, keep the people in the lane next to them safe, keep the people who are going to be coming down that lane after them safe. They're trying their hardest by having one of those things on their car, right? And then there's other people that just don't give a shit. And then, it's just something to try to keep things clean on the track, keep everything moving smoothly. If you show up and you don't have one, yeah, I'm going to ask you to put a $100 deposit. I'm going to give you your money back if you don't leak on the track. If you really show up and want to support the race and you don't have the $100, just talk to me, man. Don't get all crazy. Like, we'll figure it out. But the main thing is just make an effort to try to not leak oil and fluids on the track. Do the best you can as a racer to help keep the track clean.
Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. What about the index rules? I know I've done some index racing in my day, and sometimes it's heads up or it's more of an average.
So ours is heads up. You're going to want to leave when the light, it's a 400 Pro tree, and it's the first person to the stripe without going faster than the index time. So if it's a 5:30 index and you and I are racing each other and you cut a perfect light and you run a 5:32 and I sleep a little bit, and you get there first with a 5:32 and I sleep a little bit and get there with a 5:30, the winner's still the person that got to the stripe first without breaking out. There's different ways. People do it that way. People do it other ways, whatever. But this is the first person to the finish line
without
breaking out, going faster than the set index. Period. That's the winner. If both people break out, it's a double elimination.
Both out.
Yep. That should help with some sandbagging stuff too, right? So, yeah.
But if I don't tree, and I make it to the stripe first, and it's a 5:30 index class, and I do a 5:29,
you're out.
I'm out.
Yeah, and if I was running next to you and we both ran a 5:29, even if you got there first and I slept a little bit, so I got there later than you, but my ET was still a 5:29, I'm out too. It's the first person. The winner is the first person to that stripe without going faster than the set index. If both of us go faster, we're both out, period.
Pretty wise for everybody that signed up for this race to read the rules.
Absolutely.
Read them entirely, not just maybe specific to your class, but the protesting rules, the
100%.
tech card purchase, everything. It'd be wise of you to do all that.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to spend much time going over the rules on race day?
I mean, we're going to have a racers meeting definitely at each one. The rules can be found on the Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series group page. That group is through the Pueblo Motorsports Park Facebook page. You can also reach out to me. I can email you the rules or send you, like I did you. I've got JPEGs of them that I can even text message to you. The first 4 pages are pretty general rules, like it shows the schedule, the classes, the entry fees. While I'm looking at it, we'll talk about double entry real quick. Only index class racers can double enter, and they cannot enter the same finish line distance double enter. So if you wanted to run the 5:30 class in the 8th mile and the 9:50 in the quarter mile, you can do that. But small tire can't double enter in unlimited.
And then get my test pass.
Right. So, and then, page 3 talks about the class rules inspection and the protest, and then it also has the qualifying split of how we're splitting them, the pairing and buy run information. Then the engine diaper stuff is on page 4, some miscellaneous stuff about crossing, which is all basic stuff.
Right.
If you cross the center line, you're out. Red light is a loss, And then it has a little information on the index racing and The other thing I'll add to the index class rules is no excessive braking. So you'll get a warning the first time if you're down near your finish line, the eighth mile or quarter mile, and you're really getting on the brakes multiple times. Somebody's going to say something to you, just out of safety for everybody. You know, I've seen cars, even in bracket racing, lock their brakes up near the stripe, and I even seen one dude wreck because of it. His brakes locked up, he lost control, hit the wall, rolled on its side, and slid for a while. So, no excessive braking out of respect for safety. And then the rest of the pages are individual classes like unlimited, small tire, a little more breakdown of each class's rules. But they're really pretty simple rules that allow for just about any car that fits that category to race in it.
But read the rules.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you're not going to go over these line by line in the racers meeting. You're probably going to give people an opportunity to ask a question.
Yeah.
Maybe clarify it, but you're not probably going to spend 2 hours making sure everybody knows.
Right. Just like we can't tonight, but it's all there. And I'm a pretty easy guy to find if you don't know how to get in touch with me. Somebody probably does. Or you can message the Pueblo Motorsports Park track page or find me on Facebook, Donnie Andrade, and message me there. Or, join the Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series group and post your question there, and we'll get you an answer. But, yeah, everything's in the rules. Even the buy-in payout deal is posted online with the rules. The schedule is with it. You know what I mean? So it's a lot to take in, but really you only need to read read over the first 4 pages and then find the class you're getting into and read that, and you're good. And then look at how I would encourage people to look at how the split works, because I think it's pretty cool once people understand how it's working.
Right.
So you don't have to be the fastest to win some money. You can be in the slowest 16 if there was 32 cars in small tire and
still win
a G.
Right.
And be one of the slowest cars on the property.
Right.
So,
what's the car count looking like right now for the race?
Like I say, it's growing a little bit slower than I would have liked to have seen. I know there's some factors. I know that there's some bracket racers that are going to Texas. There's a bracket race down there that would be racing with us. They told me they were going to, but they'll be at the next one. I get it. PFI Speed Fest is the one in Kearney that was originally scheduled for May 24th. They had to reschedule, and the only date Kearney could give them just so happens to be on the same day as the first Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series race. So we're losing some import guys, some front-wheel drive guys that I'm sure are going to go there, and I get it. I support Brent and Jamie and the series that they're trying to put together, and out of that support came the Outlaw Import class, and the all-wheel drive Unlimited class, and the all-wheel drive Daily, and the 1150 Index at least, because they have people that race with them that also would fit those classes. But there are some that are going to race with us too. There's a couple that have said they're going to try to do both. That's a tough one, but
I've heard some win that there's some people that are down to come down and then race and then drive to Kearney.
Yeah, I heard the same, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. I know
that's the way it goes.
Brent and Jamie plan on it being at the other 3 of them. It didn't work out this time.
Yeah, you can't predict stuff like that.
Right. It sucks, but it is what it is.
What do the sponsors look like?
Pueblo Motorsports Park and Cricket Hat Productions currently. There's no other sponsors for this series currently, but the racers that participate, because of the way that the payout is structured. Every racer who enters a class is potentially a sponsor because they're creating the payout.
Got it. And what if somebody wants to get in on that? What do they need to do?
They can reach out to me or, reach out to the track, and we'll get them some information on how they can help for sure.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that I have or anything we didn't cover that can really help guide somebody to, know enough about the race to make the decision to enter. I mean, everything I said, yeah, obviously you're my friend, so I'm supposed to say this, but it's fair.
Yeah.
It's available. It's fair. It's for every type of racer. Like I said, there's no excuse not to jump in this and be a part of it.
I'd like to think so. I would like for people to really take a look at the buy-in payout sheet and hit me up if they have any questions. It's a little. It could. I can see where it could be a little confusing even looking at this. This is just an Excel spreadsheet that I put together the information. But if you look through the way it breaks down, it shows you, again, just going over it one more time, and this time I'll use the Group B, the 530 and the 950. The entry fee is $150, the tech card's $60. So you're in at $210. If you got 31 of your friends racing with you in that class, the total payout for that group is $4,800. We're going to give you 2 qualifying passes, and then we're going to split those 32 cars, if there is 32, into 2 groups, fast and slow. And then from there, you can see what it does. And then if it's 17 to 31 cars, obviously that number's got to come down a little bit. And then if there's 16 cars or less, at least 8, then that number comes down again, and there's no sense in splitting them.
Right.
If there's 16 cars or less, we're just not going to do a split. There's no sense in it. So
makes sense. Yeah. I'm super bummed about not being able to make the first one. I'll be saving the iguanas.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm not upset with anybody that genuinely cannot make the race, right? But to the guys that have been complaining the last year and a half about not having a place to go fast, Pueblo Motorsports Park is plenty fast. There's dragsters running, mid to low 4s there in bracket racing in the 8th mile. There's guys like Matt Frost and some others that have been in the 6s in the quarter mile.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike Murillo's been 380s in the 8th mile on a marginally prepped track so that it can mimic what he needed to go race on, So the track's plenty fast. So, if you're somebody who's been saying, oh, there's nowhere to race my type of racing in Colorado at how fast I am, come show me.
Yep.
Come try it,
For sure, brother. Well, that's all the questions I got. I appreciate you having me on again as like your, reoccurring Pedro. I'm that side guest, brother.
No,
for sure.
It's always a pleasure to have you come in. And,
oh, yeah. Hope to be on again, too.
Hopefully we've helped answer some questions. And again, they can find more answers just by looking at the Rocky Mountain Streetcar Series Facebook group page, Pueblo Motorsports Park page, or hit me up directly. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you, Tommy.
Sounds
as
good, brother.
Always, brother. You know what I mean?
You going to give me a...
Yeah, I'm going to give you one.
All right.